There are more special Corvettes now, Nick.
There are more special Corvettes.
And there will be more
I mean,
posters next to those Corvettes at Corvette meets.
yes. Yes. Although, admittedly, with the C8, not as bad as it once was. I think started with the C7, but the C8 does attract a less Corvette owner.
No, I
If that
agree.
makes sense.
No, I agree. I think that those fuddy-duddies, as you might call them, are stuck with the C5, C6 era vet owners, really.
Like, I really think it ended with the C5, and it's been kind of like still pretty prevalent with C6, but kind of downhill since. In like
Yeah.
amount of Corvette stereotype owns them.
Yeah, I think the C5 was the peak for sure. That was the summit of
Yeah,
that
but yeah,
mountain.
we now have all the iterations of the C8 Corvette from the base all the way to the new ZR1X, which a lot of people and Chevy did release it in their promotional material initially, years ago at this point. We're expecting it to be called the Zora, after I think he was the founder of the Corvette.
Was he? Okay.
The godfather, so to speak.
I'm not a Corvette historian, but I will take your word for it.
So some people were surprised that it was the ZR1X instead of that. Chevy, their reasoning for it, which was very corporate, is that they didn't want to immediately overshadow the just released ZR1 with a better, faster model. So they just added an X on the end so that they're part of the same family.
But they're still doing that.
Yes, they are still doing that.
That doesn't change the product.
No.
Do they know that? You should tell them.
Maybe they know. I don't know if they know that. But it is very very impressive. So people are saying it's gonna start somewhere under 250 US, which would put it probably around somewhere in the 280 to 290 Canadian, which a lot of money for a Corvette. But when you consider that it comes with what was it, like it's like 1250 horsepower from the factory.
Yeah.
And since it's got the hybrid system from the E-Ray, it's all-wheel drive. So even though it is really heavy, it reportedly will do 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds and a quarter mile in less than 9.
Wow.
Which out of the box for a factory car that you can just drive off the showroom floor is insane. That's
get kicked out of drag
than the
numbers.
Demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like you're supposed to have a cage and the chute numbers.
Right. Wow.
And it's just doing them out of the box. So when you consider that, you know, getting that sort of level of performance out of a European car, you're looking at like, I don't know, Ferrari SF90, the higher like McLaren. No, this is faster than a 750S. This is probably closer to what like the McLaren, like the new hypercar, the W1 or whatever is going to be doing.
It is. I mean, it's punching well above its weight class. It is unfortunately going to be stuck with the identity of being a Corvette a little bit, so it'll always be the hometown boy. But
yeah,
that's not a positive thing, so that we're clear. It's just never going to be a true exotic.
No, it's never going to be a true exotic. But I don't think they ever have been. I think they've always just sort of been the working man's exotic.
Well, I'm comfortable actually calling, like, there are people who have called like previous gen like Z06s and stuff supercars, and I've never agreed with that. I'm more than happy to call this a supercar. This is though.
Yeah, like this I think has supercar numbers, but it'll never be. They will probably make more ZR1s than they made Supras over the Supra's entire run. So like I don't think it'll ever be like a true exotic.
No, I don't think it'll ever be a true exotic just by the fact it is like an American grown thing. But I do it's like absolutely a supercar.
Yeah, like I always look at it in like the same sort of light that I see like the Viper in. I don't see the Viper as a true exotic, but it's like realistically, it's like the working person's exotic. You can sort of be a normal middle class person and at some point reach
Right.
for something like this. Like it's attainable.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this is like what the 911 and or like the Ferrari 360 or something used to be.
Right.
Like you could work and be smart with your money and like,
Be
you know,
successful.
one day you could like buy this. This is like your retirement gift or something.
Yeah. This is not to say that everybody would have, but this is like a commoner could definitely get their way into one of these. My concern with this is, I have two things to say. My concern is I assume that they're all going to be spoken for already, which is something I said before, and you said GM will make as many as they can.
Yes. So the way Corvettes work is like they can only build so many a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, if they calculate up all the hours that the Corvette factory employees are there in shifts, they know how many they can make in a year. And so technically it is limited, but like it's not order limited. GM won't be like, oh, you can't order one of these, or we're out of production for the year. They will build as many as are ordered.
Right.
You might just have to wait multiple years.
Hmm. Well, okay, fair enough. The other thing I wanted to say was, I'll be honest, I think there is it would be an interesting conversation on what is, like, I think a lot of people misconstrue what an exotic is and what a supercar is and a hypercar. We're getting into a little bit of the Zoomer territory with that, but I've always been of the mind, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, something can be exotic without being a supercar. First, they're not mutually one. You can be one without the other. So for me,
Yeah,
like,
I think the Lotus Elise is an exotic, or an
I think
exige
exactly.
is
I
an
think the
exotic.
Evora is an easy exotic, but it's
Yeah,
not a supercar.
no.
No. In the same breath, a Corvette, this Corvette can be a supercar, but not an exotic.
Yes. I think the way I see it is supercar is like numbers and performance driven.
Mm-hmm.
Exotic is more style and badge.
Yeah. No, I think, and like, I think with exotic, it's also by default kind of has to be not of your nation. There are
Yeah.
exceptions. Like, obviously, if you were like, Lotus is a British company. If you had a Lotus in the UK, I'm sure that people would still count it as an exotic. But to be honest, who knows? Their attitudes might be different there. High performance sports car,
Yeah.
who knows?
Like when I think supercar, it's something that has to do like it's something that's doing at least like 180 miles an hour
Yeah.
and is pulling pretty reasonable numbers on a skid pad.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I just find that some people sometimes, I've seen, like, this is the bashing segment. I've seen YouTubers who will,
Yeah.
like, there was one, fuck, what was his name? But he was like, I have a supercar, and it was like a C7 Corvette.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
no, you
I
don't.
do I do want to add that to be a supercar, you cannot have more than two doors.
Yeah, 100%. No, no, no.
There is no M3, M5, whatever
By that
that
namesake,
that is a supercar.
no SUVs are supercars.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Basically,
for
if
that.
it's a supercar, it's two doors and it's on a bespoke platform.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't share anything with anything else. It's its own platform.
That would almost mean that the GR Yaris is almost a supercar.
It almost is, except it shares its platform with a base Yaris.
Oh, does it? Oh shit. Okay, I thought it was a
Yeah.
bespoke platform.
But this also means that technically, things like the GT3 are not supercars.
See, I don't think you're okay with that distinction.
I don't really care. Like the supercar or not supercar doesn't really, I guess, matter. Like I feel like once you've spent that much money on a car, the whether or not somebody who doesn't have one thinks it's a supercar or not is kind of irrelevant.
I agree with you, but it's a fun conversation.
Yeah. It's just like I don't think about what the person driving a Honda Accord says when they say I have a BMW.
No,
Doesn't matter to me. It's irrelevant.
it is. See, you're so good at that. Such mental fortitude to just have things roll off you. I guess it comes with owning a '90s money pit and a Supra. So
Yeah. A 90s not exotic nor supercar.
but it's charging you supercar numbers.
Cost that much to maintain.
Is it back yet?
No.
It's gonna be fucking weeks of this game. So you're still waiting.
I'll say when it's back. It's not back yet.
So we went
It
to
is.
dinner on the weekend, and I said, "Is it gonna be back?" He said, "This week." They're just waiting on two
I
fittings.
did. There's still 2 days
There's
left.
feasible.
I
Oh,
can
so
hold
you
out
include
hope for 2
Saturday.
more
Okay.
days.
All right. So basically, if it's not back by next week, the laugh will be bigger. I'm not laughing at you.
Yeah.
I'm just like every time it's like it's almost there.
Oh, it's like it really is hilarious. So like I feel like one of those fucking big things coming people. This must
A
be
little
what they
bit.
feel like.
He tells people he owns an MR2. I've never seen it. It's in the shop soon.
Big things coming this season.
But probably a good segue into things that are gonna. Well, that did cost me a little bit of money. Your bill is way bigger than mine. But Nick, I had a little bit of an incident.
Swap them if you want. I'll pay for your tires. You can pay for my stuff.
Fuck no. Not even a chance. Yeah, I had a bit of a very aggressive puncture on my drive home yesterday.
So before we get into like the
yeah.
how did the puncture happen? 'Cause
Okay.
I don't think I know yet.
So I was headed home from my office, and I genuinely felt something, and I wrote it off because roads. When you know what this is, when you like feel a weird bump or something, like you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Right?
Is your office is in the area? I know where your office
by
is.
the
but for
airport.
The podcast.
It's
Yeah.
the one I was at was
Is
by
it
the
near?
airport.
Is it near like all the construction there?
No.
Oh, okay.
Is there
I
a
thought
construction
maybe you
on
could fit.
near the airport? No. So
I'm sure
my
that's in some places.
my office is right near the Toronto Convention Center, or sorry, Congress Center.
Oh, okay. I'm
Sorry.
thinking of something different then.
Yeah, no, it's right near the Toronto Congress Center. So I hop on the highway and then I connect to the 427. And as I'm traveling northbound, I felt something, and I didn't read it because there's just debris on roads in this area. It just happens. And then the car, the light popped for the TPMS, and it said rear driver tire is losing pressure, and I'm like, good. Like immediately I'm like, great, like this is fucked. So I'm like, okay, for context, there were multiple people on the side of the road changing tires, which I found odd.
That is odd.
Yeah,
To have more than one.
there was. I registered it in my brain because one was a 392 Dodge Charger, and I laughed a little bit because of course. But then there was another person who I didn't register in my brain at all what it was. So there was two, and then my car was like, "You're fucked," and I'm like, "Oh." So I pulled off, being the cautious driver which is what you should do if you're listening. Don't keep driving. Find somewhere safe to stop and inspect, because your car isn't making shit up. So I pulled into a gas station, and I got out of the car, and I genuinely heard like tss, like an
The
air
hissing?
hose. Yeah. And I was like, I've never heard that before, and I've definitely had punctures before, I've never heard anything like that. So I looked, and I couldn't necessarily see it. Oh, and by the way, it started raining. So I'm like, perfect. So I pulled to the last pump because I'm like, I'll at least, there was a get out of the way a little bit, but I don't want to be in the rain. And the rear tire was absolutely getting flat, and I found the thing. It was enormous. I've never seen such a puncture. Called
Was
CAA.
was it like a spike, like a nail?
So yeah, it was not a nail. I'll get to that, but I'll just say now. So when I ended up getting it patched, when they pulled it out, it was like probably like the size of like two like segments of my finger, and it looked like a rusty piece of somebody else's Elantra. Like it just looked like some piece of shit didn't maintain his car, and a piece broke off, and now it's in my tire. So it was very big. I was like, we've all had like a nail or something, and you're like, ah, fuck. Like, you know, it was way bigger than that. So I was genuinely
like a piece of one of those Brampton special trucks.
100%. That was just there, or like the vans that are always rusting the wheel wells away. So anyway, called CAA, sent a tow truck driver. Took a little while. The person who ran the gas station was getting very annoyed at me. I could tell. I kept looking at the cashier, and he kept staring at me because I'm at a pump for an hour without getting gas. So by the end, there were multiple employees staring at me from behind the counter. By the time the driver came to pick me up, thank fuck he showed up at that time, because if they'd said move the car, I would have not been able to do that. So I took it to a shop. Initially I was going to take it to this one shop that I found that was nearby, and I called them up after I scheduled the tow, and they were like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to patch the tire for you. And I'm like, okay. So I had to call back.
Some shops just straight up don't do it. They'll just be like, no, you need new tires.
Yeah. So I called another shop. I just needed, to me right now, like, even if it's fucked, which I didn't think it was at the time, I just needed to get home, you know? Yeah. So then I can deal with it. But like, so I'm like, fuck, I guess I'll call the other shop. He's like, yeah, sure. No problem. So I'm like, cool. So driver came. I have a fun picture of my car up on the fucking, you know, flatbed. First time this one's been flatbed.
Volkswagens do.
Yeah, as most Volkswagens do, they break down. No, it's fine. It's just that, like, my car cleared the flatbed, which was great. Didn't need ramps or anything. So just like by like a millimeter, like it was perfect. So good. And then yeah, when I got to the shop, he dismounted. He did it properly. He dismounted the tire, did it from the end, not just the plug, and then it didn't hold air. So he was like, well, it's still leaking, but what I can do is I can plug it for you too. And I'm like, in my head, I've read this stuff on it, but like, you should be patching from both sides somehow. I think people do plug
yeah, like from what my understanding is, you do the plug, and that's supposed to be your temporary thing, but then they do the inside patch after. But the plug can still stay.
Yeah. So he did one, but not the other. And then he was like, it's still leaking. He's like, I could plug it for you. And I'm like, all right, plug it. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be like, you should have done that. I'm just going to be like, yeah, do it. You know? So it's patched from the inside and the outside. I've parked it. It's pumped to the appropriate PSI. I'm going to see if it holds. At this point, I was convinced it wasn't. But when I went out there earlier, it was holding. Now, my concern is that maybe it'll hold, but we do like aggressive driving, you know? And my concern is that, you know, something may happen when we're doing that aggressive driving. Mm-hmm. You know? The additional concern is I've measured, now that we have these answers so they can tell a better story, measured the tread depth on the front, because this was the rear driver's side tire that was punctured. Measured the tread depths on the front, and I measured it a few places. Kind of seems like it's between like high 6 touching 7 and like almost at 8. So like kind of, you know, 7 around that, 7 seconds. New DWS 06 Plus, the tire that's on the car, they come with 10. I also called a bunch of VWs. They did not have the information I was looking for, and thought I was asking if I could replace one tire, which is not what I was asking. They sell multiple all-wheel drive cars. You'd think they'd have this information. They did not. Called my indie performance shop. The guy said, don't even worry about it, which we'll get to the fun part. When you look on the forums, everybody says you should worry about it. Front and rear axle have to be within 2 millimeters or whatever the fuck, you know? So I don't know what the fuck to believe.
Strain on the diff.
Yeah.
From the differential and speed from the different rotation.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. Now, I spoke to someone who is the most learned person I know on tires. And he did the calculation as to the actual like change in circumference based on tread wear. This is for the nerds out there. So if it was 7 30 seconds versus 10 30 seconds, it's like a 0.37% difference in total circumference. So in 1 kilometer, the rear tires or the front tires, if they were new versus the rear tires being old, the rear tires would rotate like 6 more times per kilometer versus the fronts. So,
Mhm.
which is not heavy work for a center diff. And there was an interesting comment of like, that you can have variance like this even just from tire pressure, let alone all the people who never rotate their tires with all-wheel drive vehicles and are fine.
Yeah, I mean, you had a variance like that just with your tire deflating.
Pretty much.
Now, it's not good to drive huge distances on that, but at the same time, like the car can clearly handle it for, a couple kilometers just fine.
Yeah, for a little bit it's fine. It's just obviously for long term that's the concern. Anyway, so I'm all in a tizzy, my friend, because now I'm like, fuck. If do I have to change all the tires at this point? I'm like, not. When we're having conversations about this, I'm like, am I fucked? So I felt. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, from what I know, and like every manufacturer has a different, I guess, recommendation of variance
Yeah.
based on their all-wheel drive system, but I usually it's like 2 to 3%
Right.
is what's considered safe.
Right.
So if the difference is only like 0.037 or whatever, like you said, it should be perfectly fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, and this is the thing. I want to make it clear for somebody, like, we know all the facts because Nick knows my car. But we're talking about 235, 3519 tires, exactly the same brand, exactly the same model. We're not, don't mix and match brands and models on an all-wheel drive car because the total, even if you have 10, 30 seconds of tread, the total circumference of the tire could be different. Don't fucking do that. This is your warning. If it was the same tire and
Don't
whatever.
match brands and models, period, because every
Right.
single tire with its UTQG, I think that's the acronym
Yes.
for it. Basically, it's tread wear rating. Those are all self-reported. So just because you get mismatched tires that have the same tread wear rating doesn't mean that they're actually the same compound.
Yeah, isn't there a
A
tire
lot
that's
of
like the
people talk-
liar's tire or something, like the cheater tire?
Well, in the 200 treadwear class, there's like the cheater tires and the endurance tires.
Hmm.
They're all rated at like between 180 and 220 treadwear, except like some of them will last you 5 to 10 really good laps. Some of them will last you like multiple track days.
Right.
But they're all 200 treadwear.
Somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't mix and match, but if you have this is basic, but let's go over. If you have a front wheel drive car or a rear wheel drive car, you can definitely mismatch like tread depth on front and rear because only one axle is spinning. The issue is specifically with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive vehicles that have some kind of mechanical link between the front and the rear. Less so with all-wheel drive cars, and less so with all-wheel drive cars that have like a not all-time all-wheel drive or full-time all-wheel drive. Like Subarus, try to figure it out. You got to make sure it's correct. Although I've also read that that's not necessarily true because a lot of people don't rotate their fucking tires when they own Subarus. Everybody owns a Subaru. Like, it's a common ass shit,
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, I only do it when I change the tires for the season. So once in the spring and once in the
I think
winter.
that's enough, though, to be honest. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, some people be like, you got to do it with every oil change. And it's like, not on my fucking life.
No, I've also heard that about my car, and I'm like, not happening. Definitely not happening. So that's basically that. Basically, I'm in this conundrum right now where like I have all of the parts of the equation, and I'm just not sure what to do based on whether or not the tire is going to hold air or not. And then I don't know whether or not it's necessarily safe to do performance driving on a tire that's plugged. I will say, well, plugged and internally patched. I will say that with the FRS, I did have like a plugged tire, but it held air the first time. It didn't need additional, He said when he was looking inside the tire, it cut cording when it got that big nasty rust piece. So I don't know.
Cut cording means that it's technically, I forget what I forget the word I'm looking for here, but it's like the structural integrity of the tire. It's compromised the
Yes.
structural integrity of the tire. That's
Exactly.
what cut cording means.
Yeah.
I mean, any puncture that goes all the way through will damage the cording to some extent.
Yeah.
But like I've I've driven like that on plugged tires just fine many times on the BRZ when I had it. I think the first 2 sets of Indies I had to plug at least one tire on both of them, and I was able to get their full sort of usable life out of them.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is I'm kind of at a conundrum now because where I've arrived is like automotive gray zone. Because you got people on the forums saying one thing, you got your people that you trust saying another thing, you've got like shops, even VW themselves saying another thing, and then beyond that, I'm trying to get my head around the idea that it's okay to have 2 tires that are 10, 30 seconds and 2 tires that are 7, right? But then it's like, what if I take these? What if I'm spending money for no reason first, right? And then on top of that, because they're not cheap. $600 for 2 tires, like that's plus install plus all
Yeah,
that
it's not
shit.
cheap.
It's not a small thing. I could get a full set of the new Kumho tires that we were talking about, the whatever it is, P71s. Not that they'll be amazing.
Yeah, the Extas. I just know that they're in the Exta line.
Extas, yeah. Or I can have 2 tires from Continental. You know what I mean? So that becomes a fucking question. Your mind starts spinning. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, there's also the whole like if you get the Kumos, but now you need winters because those
exactly.
are like pure summer tires.
Mm-hmm. And then it's like, well, are they pure summer tires that are going to be better than the DWS06 Pluses? I don't think so, because of course they're a budget tire.
Well, not necessarily, because the DWSs lean more towards all seasons. So like
Yeah.
they'll probably be better in the dry. Like they'll probably grip better.
Mm.
Rain might be not questionable, but not as good. But in
Yeah.
the dry, they'd probably be better
Right.
because this is like it's not. They're not like these aren't like Antares or Salins. They're just mid tier, I guess.
Yeah. That is true. I mean they are mid-tier tires. I just what if it was you, right? And you were like, do I replace 2 or do I get a whole new set and then a dedicated winter set? Like, what do you think you would end up doing?
If it holds air, I'd probably just ride it out.
Yeah.
If it does start leaking again, I'd probably just get like all 4 new.
Yeah, you'd go for the Kumhos.
Be either or. I mean, I'm a very much sort of like dedicated summer, dedicated winter set. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather have the summer performance when I want it and the winter performance when I need it.
Mm.
So I always sort of do that distinction. I know you were happy with how the Contis performed in the winter
No, they were great.
are happy with how they perform in the summer. So like for you specifically, it may just make more sense to do a new set of Contis. But if it were me, I'd probably go to the detriment of my wallet for 2 sets.
I will say, there are some other additional options that are out there that are like all seasons that seem to be like a bit newer to the market, that aren't like the old-fashioned all seasons that really don't do much for you in the winter, but not an all-weather tire. But anyway, so this brings up an interesting thing because we were talking about replacing 1 tire, and we were talking about Tire Rack has a service where they will shave a tire down, and that could work, but the problem is, of course, getting that tire here. Like, so instead of new local Contis just for the 2 tires, $600. 1 tire from Tire Rack shaved down is going to be like $570 to my door. Which is, sorry, what was that?
So that's crazy.
No,
Do you
it
think
is.
it'd be cheaper if shipped it to like cross border?
Maybe. I mean, the shipping alone was like $55 for 1 tire, which it is wild. The other thought, look, so the reason we're saying this is they shaved down the tire, and then I felt weird about being like, oh, I'm gonna like ruin the performance of a new tire, basically, like, or ruin the tread on it so that I get more performance, or that I get a matching set to save $30. And then of course, shaving tires is not like an exact thing. Like, I know they have big lathes essentially, but like there can be variance there too, right? There may be high spots, like there may be whatever. It's not a guarantee. It's not done by it's done by a person, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But we wanted to talk about this is a great segue. I'll tell you what I end up doing next time. But we wanted to segue into stuff that people do to save a buck on their car that doesn't make fucking sense, or other maintenance items that don't do shit for you. Because I think there's a lot. Just like, so the tire shaving, it's kind of a 50-50. There may be some situations where it makes complete sense, especially if you are. I think the pricing on my end is probably because I'm not in the US, that really, like, there's duties, there's this, there's that. It's not great. They do all that for you, by the way, Tire Rack.
Yeah, like they specifically market it to people that have like all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive cars. But like historically, tire shaving was a lot more popular when like bias ply tires were a thing, like a really long time ago.
Hmm.
But it's also a lot more popular in uh kind of like road course racing, where like people will get like street legal or DOT approved track tires,
Right.
and then they'll just shave them down out of the box until they're essentially a slick. So they're technically street legal
Right.
because it says DOT approved on the sidewall, but once you shave them down, they're a slick.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes
That's
sense.
yeah. That's where that side of it is.
Hmm. I can see the appeal. Like I said, I think if I was like, let's say we're like in upstate New York or something, where like it would maybe be free shipping and what I like, maybe it makes more sense. But at the moment right
Ship
now,
it
like,
to a, do you want to ship it to a shop in like Buffalo or something and
and then drive over and install it.
just drive over, have them change a tire, and stop at like a deli or something?
That's actually not a terrible idea. I would just have to drive an hour and a half on this fucking tire into the States.
Yeah.
It's not a terrible idea. I mean, I could go for some fucking chicken wings or something. Not a terrible idea.
A Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, okay. We're making a road trip out of it now. See, this is pretty good. Stop one, the tire. Stop two, Texas Roadhouse. There you go.
Yeah.
Do they have
Well, I
that up
mean,
there?
it's they do. It's not too far over the border. I wouldn't say it's really a road trip.
Right. Either way, it's just a, it is a conversation to have about it, because at this point, like, you should always weigh your options. But that goes well into what I wanted to talk about, or we wanted to talk about. There are some strange things that people do, generally speaking, at the behest of their mechanic, or usually like a dealership or whatever it is. Someone who's trying to make a buck on you and convince you this makes sense. And the first thing I mentioned this to you, but the first thing I wanted to address was turning rotors. So if you need a brake job done, right? Generally speaking, and not like you should replace the rotors with the pads. Some people do only pads. I don't know how that is safe.
You can technically do only pads, and your pad will just bed into the existing rotor. Yeah, it works, but like, I mean, you're there anyways. If you can afford pads, you should be able to afford rotors, and if you can't, well, that's what the bus is for.
Right. But then this idea of turning rotors. So like, for those who actually don't know what that means, and if the shop, or resurfacing as some people call it, a shop will convince you that while doing your brake job and probably charging you way too much money for like shitty fucking pads, right? They're upcharging you for that and the labor. That instead of buying new rotors, which is the correct choice, buying cheap Chinesium rotors is better than turning a rotor. That's my 2
You
cents.
can buy the cheapest Rock Auto or Napa blank discs, and they will be perfectly fine.
So what they'll do is they'll try to convince you that instead of buying a whole new rotor, you could just have someone basically like machine down your rotor so that they're nice and smooth again.
Yeah.
This sort of works, but the problem is that, one, there's a human doing it, so it's not perfect. And two, why the fuck would you remove material from your rotor, which its job is to like be consumed in stopping your car, for more often than not, either the same. I've even heard of it being more expensive than buying new rotors, and we're talking like, reasonable rotors.
Yeah.
You're not
The issue I have with turning rotors is so like if you've actually seen it done, they literally just put the rotor on a lathe, and they like cut a layer off the top of it. Except I know where most people get their brakes done, and dealerships are included in this. I wouldn't trust any of them to know how to, one, operate a lathe, and two, have an actually properly maintained lathe that's going to create an even surface. So what you're going to end up with is a rotor that has a layer removed from it that now has high and low spots, and
Yep.
now you have brake judder in your pedal.
Yep. Or your steering wheel will shake when you brake. So,
Yeah, brake judder.
like you said, I don't know.
Yeah. And then it starts to ruin your new pads.
Yep. Oh, it destroys the entire. Why would you go out of your way to do that? It does not make any sense. And that's the thing. This is what we're hitting on. There is stuff, and you should pay attention. So if anybody tells you, if any mechanic, this could be an independent, it could be a dealership. Dealerships are not immune to this. Dealerships are not your friend. They will screw you. If they suggest resurfacing, refinishing, turning, sanding down, anything to do with reusing your existing rotor rather than buying a new one, claiming that it's going to save you money, it's not going to save you money in the long run. And more often than not, you can definitely get rotors that are cheaper and would actually be flat and true rather than getting the most expensive rotor. And then that's their comparison. Oh, look, this OEM like fucking like top tier rotor. Just get like a centric AC Delco, any blank. You'll be fine.
Napa blanks, literally.
Napa blanks.
Stop Tech, anything.
Chinesium.
Just the cheapest vented disc you can find.
If yours
will
is
be
vented.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ray Bestos. Whatever it is.
Ray Bestos makes fine stuff.
Yeah. Just for an economy vehicle, there is no question in mind. Just tell them to get new shit. Okay? And they will try to fight you. Just say that's what you'd like to do. They'll hem and they'll haw and they'll tell you that it's cheaper and it's better. And no, it's not. Just they are playing mind games with you. Yeah. Don't ever turn a rotor.
Realistically, like any turning service is a scam or a waste of money for like if you ever have to do the clutch on your manual car, which there's probably not too many people left doing that, and they say, do you want to resurface your flywheel? No. You just get a new flywheel when you do the clutch.
There is nothing more expensive.
Same thing happens. You just end up with a flywheel that has high and low spots, a clutch pedal that doesn't feel right, and it ruins your new clutch.
Yeah. There's nothing more expensive than doing something cheap that requires tons of labor to get to. That is wild work. And there's no reason to do it. So those two things. I guess another one would be, well, we talked about the tire shaving, but that's not really that bad. Don't mismatch your tires in general, like we discussed earlier. You really should. Rotate your tires. You can do it at home. You can handle it. That's hilarious coming from me who's not doing it at home, but you can do it at home. You can handle it. And make sure, okay, so sorry, on the rotor thing, don't replace just pads. Do new rotors too. Like Nick said, if you can't afford that, then you can't afford the car. Another one we talked about, injector cleaning. Okay, so what it is, for those who don't know, there are two options. Both of them are not really injector cleaning. One is dumping some very acidic liquid into your gas tank, effectively, and then running your car, and effectively this cleans the injectors. There are solvents probably in there, etc. That's not going to clean shit. I've also heard that they disconnect the injectors and just shoot cleaning fluid through them. That is what one person claimed.
Yeah, I've heard that one is they pressurize the fuel rail and run it through the rail.
Yeah. So both of those things, I'm not saying they're going to do zero. There is some merit to putting solvents through a vehicle. There are additives in gasoline that do this, that are solvents. But not for $500. Yeah, always buy top tier gas. Has the most solvents in it. And gas is the best solvent to begin with. So, but not for $500 from a fellow with a funny beard at your local Hyundai dealership. Definitely not. But there is a way to. How do you actually clean injectors, Nick?
Okay, so I actually had this done to the MR2's injectors, and you basically, this isn't something you can do at home because it's basically rebuilding the injector, but you send it out, to an injector service, and they put it through like an ultrasonic cleaner, and then they put it on a test bench, and they test how much fuel is leaking out at idle, how much flow is actually the injector is actually capable of. Because like for example, I'd have to pull up the sheet for my MR2 injectors, but like the MR2 injectors are rated at 550 cc. When I sent them in, each one had between like 5 to 11% leakage, meaning that they were just dripping even when the injectors weren't firing. And like some of them were actually putting out like 430 cc, or not 430, I think it was like 480. One of them was at like 520. So there were like variances because they were old and used and needed to be cleaned. So basically they run them through the ultrasonic machine, they clean them, they replace all the seals and everything on them, and then they test them again. And normally when they test them again, there's like no leakage, and mine were even reading above what they were rated for. Like mine were all between sort of like 570 to 585 cc's of flow rate. But that's how you actually clean injectors. It's not, you can't do it at home.
No,
I
you
think
need
I
an
actually
ultrasonic cleaner.
I think I actually have a video of it somewhere that I can.
You do. I recall seeing this video of the testing, I think, right at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe if you find it, we can link in the description.
I'd have to find it somewhere.
Yeah. But there's a lot of services like this that don't do shit for you. Right? There's I think Hyundai, so weigh in on this for me because I'm 50-50 on this. Hyundai has a liquid carbon cleaner. And I'm told that's nonsense. Yeah. So
no, you can run seafoam through your engine, and if you do it properly, it will clean the carbon off your valves somewhat. For direct injected engines that have carbon buildup issues, you really just need to get it walnut blasted.
Yeah.
But for like port injected cars, you can run seafoam through them, and it helps, but it is a fucking mess. Like your car is gonna smoke like a freight train for like, and when I say smoke like a freight train, I mean you will like smoke out your neighborhood.
Yeah, no, it's
for like 15 to 20 minutes. Like
it's
somebody
wild.
might actually call the fire department.
They will. I guarantee you they will. Don't do that shit in your local neighborhood. Take it to just take it somewhere to get it done. But I understand if you want to DIY it, but it's just, you're gonna get the fire trucks pulling up on you.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that. So one thing that isn't BS, this is gonna be like the most like infomercial like smile at the end, but like the things that aren't BS for maintaining your vehicle, get your fucking oil changed sooner than you think. This is something I also wanted to talk about. So the interval on my Golf R, the dealership says it's 15,000 kilometers per oil change, which to me is fucking crazy. Like that's way too much. And I'm sure that owners listen because that's less cost to them because they don't want to do it that soon. For apparently, so I thought it was just a VW thing. Apparently the newer Corollas are also like 15,000.
Yeah, well, like the STI from the factory, Subaru recommends 10, and I thought that was crazy.
Yeah,
considering what like how old the engine actually is.
It's the only thing protecting your engine, and they're like, yeah, don't worry about it for possibly a year. I don't. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sit right with me. I would never recommend anybody does that. I'm less afraid of timing it out than I am of mileage, obviously, because the wear on the oil itself. But I don't know, modern oils, they're actually quite impressive. A lot of people will like. There was a post on the VW forums, take it with a grain of salt, that was like, yeah, I drained my oil at like 15K and I sent it to Blackstone, and they were like, yeah, this oil isn't even degraded. You could have kept running it. So like, there is some truth there, but I think that assumes a lot of good conditions, like the best quality oil, like for VW German, like Liqui-Moly, good quality.
It actually matters to warm your car up properly before doing any and stuff like that. Like that matters in how long your oil will last. So like yeah, I don't doubt that it can last if you take care of things properly, but at the same time it's like, oil change is like what, $70?
For like a conventional like Corolla, yeah, some of 70, $80, maybe 100.
$70. Like for the STI, I think it's like 90 for
Right.
like Motul and an OEM filter.
I think I pay
And
like 150 for VW with the liquid moly. So
yeah, but like that's 150 and they do the change for you.
yeah. Oh, you're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
just the
So
cost
like
of the actual shit.
yeah, like I'm thinking just the cost of parts. So like if you did
Oh, okay.
liquamoly in your own filter and did it at home, like
Probably 100, yeah.
let's say 110. We'll put it on the high side, but like $110 every 5K, that's a
Ye-
couple $100 a year if you do 20K, 25K, like
Yeah, just for peace of
I
mind. I
think
mean,
it's worth it for the peace of mind.
I think 5K miles makes sense to me. I think 5K
So
kilometers is
5K
quite
is
low.
5K is a little much for modern engines. Like the Supra I just do once a year because it never really gets.
Yeah, it never
I never
reaches that
really put a ton of
mileage.
miles on it anyway. But like I think I have the interval in my maintenance sheet at like 7,500 kilometers.
Yeah, which I think
But
that's realistic.
but the MR2 and the STI are every 5K because those are like old school engines
Yeah.
where like it actually matters. The BRZ I did 7,500 kilometer intervals.
I think I did 8,000 in the FRS, and
Yeah.
I think I've been doing like just shy of 10, like maybe 9,500 or 9,000 with the Golf R. I'm going to drop it probably to like more like 7 now as it gets a little older. That is something you should also do is when you get your car and it's new, maybe half of what the like manufacturer says, like if they say 15K, do 7,500 or 8,000. That's what's realistic. As your car ages, you really should be, this is real shit you should actually be doing, not doing injector cleanings and whatever. Just take care of it. Just do oil changes more often. Just, drop it to 6,000 or whatever it is. It's peace of mind as your car gets older and the tolerances get less tight,
Oh, I actually found my injector cleaning. I'll just send it in chat. You can throw it in the
Perfect.
description if you
We'll
want.
put
But like,
Nick's
there's the
injector
sheet
cleaning.
from the statistics. Don't put that sheet in there because it does have.
It does have his address.
My phone number in it, and I don't want
Okay.
anybody to call me. But the video should be fine.
Perfect.
But yeah, there's the video of them being
flow tested.
flow tested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually like really interesting because like very rarely do you actually get to see how an injector works.
Yeah, no,
I think.
I'm definitely gonna post this one. Just make sure there's nothing in the comments. Someone is asking about the size. Okay. Yeah, no. That'll go in the description. You can see Nick. Oh, that says Nicholas. May 29th, 2021. 2021?
Yep.
Oh, wow. It's more recent than I thought it would be. But yeah, so
yeah, I think it was a few years after I did the swap. I figured I couldn't prove how good the original injectors were, so I was just like, screw it, I'll rebuild them and have it done.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that someone who gives a shit about their car does. So no, it should be an interesting watch. So I will be definitely sending this or linking this in the description. So back to preventative maintenance that's actually, or maintenance that actually makes sense and stuff that doesn't make sense. Can you think of anything else that is basically a cash grab? Because I beyond rotor turning and all that kind of flywheel turning and
I mean, there's the classic dealership stuff, like any rust protection that isn't some sort of like oil-based spray, like Crown or something like Honey Seal, is not really going to be protecting much. But I'm pretty sure, I think we covered that many episodes ago.
Yeah, we did. I think I just want to add to that I've also heard like there's companies that add like atomized ceramic coating for the bottom, and nothing sticks to that shit. So I don't know. I'm not saying it's a good idea or a bad idea.
I haven't seen or heard of any of that, so I will suspend my judgment until I know more.
I'm not gonna say whether that's a positive or negative. It just is what it is. I guess
Dry
honest,
ice blasting is cool though. Like if you
it
do
is
a
cool.
dry ice blast and like a honey seal on a car that you care about or want to keep a long time, that is worth it.
No, that's some real
Expensive,
shit.
but worth it.
Very expensive, but yeah, it's worth it. It's if that's especially if it's a car kind of like your situation, right? Your MR2, it's nicely built now, and like obviously if it wasn't for the 10K fucking bill you're getting recently, like it's kind of
Yeah.
one thing, but if you have a car like that, it's older, like it probably has just over time, like rust is gonna form, even if you take it doesn't ever sees winter or stuff like that. So it might be good for something like that. It makes sense. So yeah, something you want to keep for a long time, something that's classic, has value. You could very well do some honey seal. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, there's the classic dealership stuff. I feel like honestly, like one thing that we've probably talked about, but just like not only is it the kinds of maintenance, but like they'll jump the gun and tell your brakes are worn, right? And you're like, oh, are they? What are you gonna do? You're gonna go check? There's a lot of stuff that you can hand wave that a dealership tries to convince you is a good idea.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. Basically, like, so obviously there's this turning anything, rotors, flywheels, any service that they offer you that is either a pour it into the gas tank or pour it into the oil cap
Mm.
isn't working as advertised,
No.
unless it's engine
Anything
oil itself going into the oil cap or the
anything
oil
that's
film.
maintaining something or like cleaning something or anything like that inside the engine by them simply pouring something into the engine is, yeah, that's not how any of that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. The
Uh,
only exception to that rule is putting like stable into your gas tank when you're storing your car for the winter.
yeah.
That does work.
Yeah, if you're storing your car, that makes sense, but obviously on the maintenance end there's really nothing you should be pouring to do maintenance other than, yeah, like changing your oil. That's it. Um Obviously you should maintain your transmission. You should maintain, like, the transmission fluid changes are important. A lot of people forget them. Brake fluid flushes are a thing, but it's a bit
Yes.
more in depth. Toyota's fucking clever, right? They're a clever company. They built their reliability on the back of knowing people aren't going to do the required services. So they use .3 fluid in in most of their cars, I think, because that lasts the longest. It doesn't get as much air, like air in it, or water in
Yeah.
it. Excuse me.
So brake fluid. Yes, brake fluid is what's it? I think it's hygroscopic is the
Yeah,
word, but basically it absorbs moisture from the air. So what that means is over time, the effective temperature or boiling point of the brake fluid, at which point, if it boils over, it becomes ineffective. That's when your pedal goes to the floor. That temperature goes down as the fluid absorbs more moisture from the air. So yes, dot three is sort of the least hygroscopic. Dot three is probably what most sort of, at least for the longest time. I'm not sure about recently. I'm sure Toyota probably still uses it, maybe Honda, but your sort of like average commuter car would probably be using dot three.
yeah,
Um, a lot of more performance oriented cars these days are probably using dot four or dot 5.1.
yeah.
Uh, dot five is actually, I think it's silicon based, and it's not actually used in like passenger cars. I think it's more for like military applications. It's weird.
Something like that. Yeah. So you can, so there's certain, like, I think you can mix 4 and 5, but we're not going to give that advice, but like you should be buying exactly what it says on the cap of your brake fluid reservoir.
Yeah, like you can put dot four or dot 5.1 in a dot three system. You shouldn't put dot three in like a dot four or dot 5.1 system.
Yeah. It's kind of like air conditioning, like R, what is it, R
12
134A and
like
R12. Yeah.
R134A. They have like they're at like R123YA or something right now. Like I don't even know what air
Yeah.
conditioning
That's
numbers
witchcraft.
there are anymore.
Yeah. But
But
you want to
yes, like
maintain
you
that. Yeah.
can't mix those.
Yeah. So make sure you're getting the right stuff. And brake fluid, if you have .4, like most German cars have .4, that includes like even baseline VWs. You know, if you do, you really have to maintain those systems. You really should be getting them flushed. You will see it in the reservoir. You'll see how dark it should be, golden, and if it's brown, it needs to be changed. Why does this matter? Not only will your pedal go to the floor, but the more water that's in the system, the more likely that your brake caliper is gonna fucking seize and leave you stranded in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, changing a brake caliper on your FRS that you didn't put into the fucking driveway, or sorry, excuse me, the fucking garage the whole way, so the door's open, and then you start crying because it's seized. But I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, no, none of us have ever made that
None of us have done that.
No, none of us have done that. Also, like if you have a car, you know, like an FRS or BRZ or whatever, that like takes .4 from the factory, if you're just driving it on the street, you probably don't need .5.1 or like RBF 660 or some performance brake fluid that's like more track oriented. .4 is just fine.
I thought the FRS was .3.
I don't know. I thought it was .4. I had .4 in it when I had mine. I forget what brand. It might have been ATE Type 200 because I used that in the MR2, so I probably just had a bunch left over that I used in the BRZ. But .4 is plenty for a street driven car.
It says that .3 is what comes for the FRS. I don't know if the BRZ is filled. You can use .4 in the system allegedly, but I don't know if that's what it is. So your mileage may vary, but for me it was .3. So I just did what was on the cap.
Yeah, I used ATE Type 200 because I have that floating around everywhere.
I used Canadian Tire Type whatever was cheapest. So no, actually I got genuine fluid. Now that I think about it, I do remember the cap or the bottle being Toyota specific. So, but
I mean, like Canadian Motomaster brake fluid will probably do just like it's built to the standard of .3. So any .3 fluid you get is going to be able to withstand.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're just driving a Vibe.
Yeah. Whatever it is, like if you're driving a
Kirkland brake fluid, if they made that, and it would be fine.
I would just I would buy that immediately. You can get Kirkland oil. That's great. It's fine.
Kirkland oil is awesome oil.
Yep. I would
great
put
oil
it in my car. But I think so I think it's like .3 and .4. I don't know. Just make sure you get the right one. We are not going to recommend any, you know, you figure that out. But to go back to where we were at, you got to make sure you maintain this stuff. I mean, it causes other things to break down too. I don't think that's what people don't realize. Change your filter, like your cabin air filter. That's for the stuff you breathe. But like the intake filter, that's gonna keep like shit out of your engine. And if it's like basically broken down inside, and shit's getting through, that's bad for your engine. It costs $20.
I mean, like a lot of these things, there's like they mile out or they time out, meaning that if you don't hit the mileage to replace it before you hit the timeout, you have to replace it anyways. So like brake fluid,
2 years, I think.
Even engine oil, like brake fluid, engine oil, transmission and diff fluid, it all times out.
Yeah.
So you know, like engine oil, even if you're not driving, you should probably do once a year. Brake fluid, you should probably, I would always do it every either 40 to 50K or every 3 years.
VW recommends 2 years on their cars. So mine was done when I picked mine up, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean you can do it if you're using like a .5.1 or something, yeah, probably every 2, but like 3 or 4 you'll probably be okay with 3 years. Especially if you live in like a drier climate. Humid climate, maybe do it a bit sooner. And then transmission and diff I usually do them like every 60K or 3 years as well.
Yeah. Funny enough, VW says that their diff is lifetime. You never need to service it.
Yeah, so, a lot of manufacturers will say that. What they mean is it's the lifetime of the warranty of the car.
Pretty much.
because that's what the manufacturer considers lifetime. Once the warranty runs out, they don't really care what happens to it.
What I found strange is that even the independent DAP Auto part or whatever it is, the YouTube fella, even on their like maintenance schedule for my car, it's never specifies the differential or the rear diff, excuse me, which is strange because they do extra stuff on theirs. So it might really be lifetime, Nick. It might really be lifetime.
Hey, if you want to believe it, go ahead.
It doesn't matter.
You can run your lifetime fluid, and when you can change your diff, not in the December cold with your car half in the garage.
I won't be working on this car, as you know, so not my problem.
Well, if you would like a 10K bill one day.
No. That's a junkyard diff, bro. That's I am not. Oh, knock on fucking wood, dude. Oh shit.
Call pick and save for a Golf R diff.
Yeah, they're not gonna have shit for me. No, at that point I would see, this is why sometimes less is more. You get a GTI, you don't have a rear diff, you don't have a Haldex. I could replace 2 tires and not worry about it. And then I'd own a GTI and have a sunroof.
Yeah, but then you could also have a Golf R and get like a stage 1 tune and a Haldex controller, and it's a lot more spicy than a GTI.
It is. It's legitimately fast. It's well, quick. Let's start the word quick. Fast is like 500-600 horsepower, but
it's unassuming.
It is unassuming, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss it.
Quick.
I kind of miss the assuming. There's a because we've said a million times, the twins, the FRS BRZ, right? Checks they can't cash visually.
Yes.
I miss that a little bit because I think like now I look at cars that even are, I would say, less attractive. The FRS and the BRZ, they're good looking cars. So like I look at cars that I think are less attractive than them, like like the 2010 era, like 335i's, like the 2-door ones, and I think they look better or more assuming, I guess, than my Golf. And I miss it sometimes, just a little bit of like the people kind of look at it like it's a little bit of something. Now I'm just a fucking shadow in the crowd, Cops don't even look at me, nothing, which is great, but like I kind of miss it. I kind of miss it a little bit. It's the but you have it too because you drive a Supra and an MR2, and you don't drive anything that's unassuming except the vibe. But even then, like it's not a fun car.
It. Like I needed the ultimate, like just the way opposite end, the most unassuming thing.
Yes.
That you could imagine, because everything else is the most assuming thing that you.
It's hyper assuming. You're fucking. Yes. We were hanging out in a parking lot last weekend, and some dude rocked up and was like, "Hey boys, nice Supra," and it's like it's all of our. It was a very weird way to say it. Like you'd be like, "Whose Supra is it?" You know what I mean? But he was like, "Nice, the 3 owners."
Community Supra.
It's the community Supra. Yeah. So I don't know. Color me not shocked, but as someone who I don't know. I miss getting looked at. Like, my car was, I only ever excited children, which is a weird thing to say out loud, but the FRS only ever excited kids because it was a red sports car. It was like, in their mind, it might as well have been a Ferrari because they're 5 and they're stupid. They don't know any better, right? So,
yeah, I mean, like, that's the majority of what mine do as well.
Yeah.
Very rare that's like someone that isn't will say something about it.
See, but you get teens and early 20s, and dudes who are like, I had one of these back in my day, right? I don't get any of that. I actually only got 1. No, I got 2. Oh, let me share that. I got 2. One was at a gas station. It was freshly cleaned, and a young gentleman with his broccoli hair was hanging out with his friend who had some 2010 era C250, I'm sure, a Mercedes. And he rocked up to me as I pulled into the gas station. He was like, "Oh, bro, I love your car." And I was like, "Thanks, man." And I saw the Mercedes. Like, "Is that one yours?" He goes, "No, I don't have a car," which is fine. That's just, if you're young and you don't have a car, being honest is the best thing. I don't like it when people, "No, yeah, bro, it's at home." Okay, my girlfriend goes to another school. It's the same thing. It's the same fucking energy, man.
Never.
Yeah, no. So I'm like, you know what? Keep working at it. And there are people who lust after the Golf R, but they're children, Or they want like a 600 horsepower, like, Daza build or something. That's what they're expecting. I had another one, an old guy, not an old guy, he was an older guy, like probably late 50s, was like rolling slowly as I went back to my car in a parking lot. And he was like, "Oh, sorry to stare at your car. my nephew, he has a GTI. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, this is the better one. I'm like, thank you. He knows. And he's like, and then I got the inevitable question of every old guy asks, is it manual? No. Like I don't. He's like, oh, my nephew's isn't either. I'm like, okay, then why are you singling me out, dude? Like,
I mean, the R is arguably the one that you don't want to have the manual in.
that's, yeah,
Like,
by all
you
accounts.
really do want to have the 7-speed DSG.
Because it's a rocket ship. That's it. It just goes,
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, like the GTI, understandable, but the R, like
Yeah.
the DSG is a big part of it.
I think that that's what it is, because it's a good engine. It's a good engine.
Yeah.
It makes good power. It goes to all 4 wheels, and the way that it keeps up with cars above its weight class is a true DSG.
Yeah.
Like, that's the recipe for a little bullet that's, affordable.
Yeah, like the GTI, you're never going to win any acceleration contests, so you may as well have it be a little more engaging to drive.
Yeah.
But the R, like we said, it's unassumingly quick, but that's because of the DSG.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to have that.
It is funny. I've seen like 400 horsepower build like GTIs, and they can't break like the just about 4-second to like 0 to whatever 100 kilometers, do 0 to 60, because it's just front wheel spin, just nonstop.
Yeah, like you just it's physics. Like you just can't get around that.
No, it's true. But how do we get here?
Question.
We had a little bit of amnesia. Well, we were talking about
fluid changes.
Oh yeah, something like that. Well, and the last, you know what? There's one little bit of maintenance advice for things you don't need or do need. We've said it before, but we'll repeat it again. Don't buy a car because you can afford the payments. Buy a car if you can afford the maintenance. Wow, that almost rhymed, Nick. Holy shit.
That was really close. That's
meant to be.
That one might be a title or something.
Yeah. Can you afford the maintenance or something? Yeah, so it's like but truly, you need to do your research. This is the second biggest purchase you're ever going to buy. Make sure that you are able to afford the maintenance. GTRs are cheap. GTR maintenance is not cheap. Like,
look at that first $4,000 transmission flush bill.
Yep. Look at the brakes are like fucking $3,000 just for parts or something like that.
Yeah. Well, like even beyond that, like the amount of people, like you said, you like the E90-ish generation, the 335i, which, admittedly nice car. I like the coupe has really nice clean lines.
Yeah.
I think it's going to age very well. But like people will buy those for like 7 to 9 grand for 335i. And it's like leaking oil out of every orifice and needs $6,000 of work.
Yep.
That they weren't ready for.
Yeah. I mean, it's mistakes you can make when you're young, but yeah, that they leak oil, they shit oil. Yeah. That's about it. It's what they're known for.
Yeah. And then the first thing that goes like, oh, well, I just want a downpipe and a tune. It's like, all right, brother, you're leaking as much oil as you're putting in.
Yeah.
There's bigger things to address here.
I wouldn't even buy it at that point. I'm such a, I don't know, lot to address. But yeah, like you need to be able to afford the maintenance. There's a reason that luxury cars get cheap as they age. There's a reason for it. It's not just because of the good graces of the previous owners.
Yeah.
It's what they're worth.
There's a reason why the good ones stay expensive as they age.
Yep. There's a reason why even, like even you can see the variance in like lots of things. Just because you can afford the cheapest one doesn't mean you can afford the car. Never sort by cheapest. Like I learned that lesson with the FRS and with the Golf. I went and I checked every single one until I found the best one. Well, I lucked out. It was the cheapest one. One owner instead of 5 on the other. You remember that? That was crazy. If you ever open a fucking Carfax and there are 5 owners in 4 years, run like it has the fucking plague, dude. That was 5 years under warranty and they couldn't figure it out. They kept dumping the car. Hell no.
Yeah, those ones you gotta run. Like I feel, like as a car gets older, multiple owners starts to mean less and less and less.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're at 5 in 4 years, there's a problem
in the warranty period.
Carfax.
Yeah. And I guess that's really what it is. Yeah. The best maintenance is buying the best car.
Although I will say that is apparently extremely common in exotic cars
That makes sense.
because a lot of people will buy them to flip them. So you'll get a lot of cases of them changing hands 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the first couple thousand kilometers
Right.
or first few years of their life. So I had no idea. I just stumbled across like people talking about this at some point. But yeah, like it's apparently not uncommon to find like Lamborghinis or Ferraris or like GT3s or stuff that'll have 5, 6 owners in 3 years
Yeah, I mean
and
it
no
makes
miles.
sense. At least it has no miles. But a lot of the stuff we say really only applies to like cars that normal people can afford. Anything sub
To the
100K.
poors,
Yeah, to the poors like us.
to us the poors.
Yeah. But I think, was there anything else we wanted to hit on? I think that's kind of a good place to end. Is best maintenance
Yeah,
is
no,
buy the
that
best
that
car.
that, that covers it.
All right.
Buy good shit.
Buy good shit. And don't cheap out. It'll bite you in the long run. Don't cheap out. That's my rule. Don't cheap out on stuff that's difficult to change. Like if it's like the flywheel, like we talked, like that's a lot of labor to get back in there. Just spend a
Yeah,
little
especially
more.
on anything that isn't rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
Like a
So
lot of labor.
the further out from the
Like,
engine it
buy
is. Yeah.
buy OEM or buy better than OEM.
Mm.
Unless you're buying pads and rotors for an economy car, then you can just get the cheapest China shit you can find.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay.
Buy the further out that something, like the less labor it requires to change something, kind of the more it's okay, not okay, but like it's less bad to cheap out. Because if it is fucked up, you take a gamble, it's not going to cost you big time. So like, I don't know. I actually can't think of it. Like injectors, not injectors. Sorry, not injectors. Like coil packs. Sorry, like on a where they're easily accessible on the top. If you really wanted to cheap out on coil packs, you could try it because you can change them yourself with a little wrench.
Yep. But
Yeah.
admittedly, if you cheap out on coil packs, your car will tell you immediately that you've
Yes.
cheaped out on coil packs.
No question. But at least
Immediately.
if you gambled and
Like,
you
for
lost,
example, if you have like a BRZ, don't cheap out on coil packs.
No.
Just get the OEM ones.
it took me 4 hours to change one spark plug and coil pack, and it wasn't the problem. So, yeah. Don't do that. But so if you have easy access to stuff, it's okay to gamble, but not for every situation. Use your brain. But I think that's a great place to end. I think that's sound advice.
Don't cheap out on safety items. So don't cheap out on suspension or tires.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Buy name brand, but you can go cheap on name brand, but like buy name brand, something that like you put stuff on your car you would feel comfortable putting on your mom's car. Like, your life is probably worth living, so don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good. I saw so many like cheap China tires at the shop I went to get my tire patched. It was like brands I'd never heard of. Oh, 2 seconds on this. Mirage. I don't know what that is.
I've never heard of Mirage.
I've never heard of Mirage. We both have worked and work in the auto industry at some point. What is a Mirage, my friend?
Yeah, no, like when I was last in the auto industry, it was like Salins and Land Sale
Land
and
sale,
like
yeah.
Rotalas.
Yeah.
Like Westlake and stuff are a bit newer. Although I think you said they were made by Nexon, so they're not like horrible.
Oh no, the Nexon ones are the Moto Masters. Sorry,
the Moto Masters.
Yeah,
But
Westlakes
who
are
that makes Westlake?
no, they're just a Chinese tire, but they're surprisingly good and they're reasonably priced. Like they're better
Oh,
of the Chinese
like,
tires.
Fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, like a lot. But yeah, I've never heard of Mirage tires.
No, I was staring at it for a long time while he was patching my tire because I'm just like, do I say something to him? Like, so what is this? Like,
I don't, like my favorites are still like Linglongs or Triangles. Like imagine
I love Linglong.
because like you have to say it when you buy it. You have to say yes, I want the Linglongs. So you're consciously making that decision.
Dude,
You have to say it to someone.
I couldn't imagine what the person like. Yeah, let me get it's the 245 45 17 Linglongs.
Yeah, can I please get the the 245, 45, 17 fucking Ling Long ditch finders, please.
I saw them. We didn't say this, but I saw them on a real car. They're not called ditch find. I don't know what the fuck they're called, but it was on a Honda, like a new, like Honda, whatever their fucking pickup truck is. Fuck, Pilot, not Pilot.
No, not the Pilot. The Ridgeline.
Ridgeline, yes. On their newer one, I'm like, why is he on Ling Longs? What is that? I don't know, man. I don't know. Some people, like, he must have gotten through his first set of tires or something and was like, what's the cheap? I can't even find a place to buy Ling Longs. Like we joke about it, but I've looked. Not recently, mind you, but
they're like apparently, like, I always see Ling Longs or something similar on like people that are trying to resell a like slightly used 1 to 2 generation old luxury car,
yes.
but like at a sketchy dealership. They're always on new Chinese EM tires.
Well, yeah, that's like modern.
Just so they can say they have new tires.
Yeah, like modern motor cars. When we were looking at my Golf R, like to buy the Golf R, they had like a bunch of Golf Rs priced like way too high. And they had them on like Imperial, like something dragons.
Yeah, I remember that red one we were looking at because we were like, that one looks pretty good. And then we looked into it and we were like, wow, that's a piece of shit.
Yeah, well, it had 18K on it, but like it must have been the hardest 18K of its life or something that it's on. Or
it was missing the plastic. I remember it was the thing that gave it away was missing the plastic cover on the top of the engine.
Yeah.
And we were like, that's fucking sus.
Yeah, no. And they're like, probably 48 grand. And I'm like, no. I paid 34.9 for mine, and I trust it way more than that thing. That's the devil's work. I don't know about that, man. But yeah, there are I mean, like CarMax in the States does this shit too, where they're like, it doesn't matter, put it on new tires, even if it's Chinesium, just put it on new tires. Like, it's not always better.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I get it if you just got to move the car and pass a safety. Like, sure, they'll pass a safety, I guess. But like, I don't know. If I bought a car and it came on like fucking Ling Longs, that'd be the first shit I change.
No, I know. That's like, it's like one thing, I think it's a VinWiki story, but like Rob Pitts, rest in peace, used to say like at CarMax there, they would take tires that were 80% tread wear and throw them out because they would rather have, it comes with new tires, you don't have to worry about it. But they're throwing out Contis and putting on Ling Longs.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
I love the names that they give. Like, I just went on their website and they have like the Ling Long Lion Sport Grand Prix or GP.
That can't be. I have their catalog on my desk because I just think it's the funniest. Like that they have
a long crosswind all season.
Crosswind is that was what it was. That was what was on the fucking Ridgeline. The crosswind. What is this shit? Dude, my favorite is that on the cover of the fucking catalog, it says trusted, the #1 trusted brand of 7 of 10 manufacturer. No, what manufacturers? Did your cousin start manufacturing something? And you're like, do you trust me? And he's like, I do. And they're like, that's the one. Next. Like, who?
You know what? If there is any OEM brand that's going to start selling their cars on Ling Longs, it's going to start with Hyundai and Kia.
It's well, Kumo is mostly fucking owned by a Chinese investment now, so it's already going that way.
I've seen OEM Kumos. I've seen it.
Oh yeah, no, they do, and they're fine. But
if anyone's going to start with Ling Longs, it's going to be Hyundai and Kia.
100%. Or I'm thinking maybe Nissan goes that way.
On factory Ling Longs.
Dude, I would love it if Elantra and owners were on factory Ling Longs. That would just be a lovely
Ling
thing.
Long Evolux Capricorn Ultra High Performance.
Well, they have...
Like, what the fuck are these names?
I just bumped the microphone. So sorry, listener. The Capricorn UHP?
Yeah.
What is this shit? It's a copy of something. It has to be, right? Like
it must. Like, I don't know of what. It kind of looks like the Kumos that I have.
It kind of does. My favorite is that all the tires are like real pictures or like proper 3D renderings of tires. And then if you go, their Optimum, is that the right spelling? It is the right spelling. The Optimum HP is like a weird like AutoCAD like 3D like picture.
Yeah,
like it's not. I don't know.
Like they made it in a design software, but everything else it looks normal.
You know how I know how you should run, not walk away from these is because At the top banner, they've got a fucking what is this? Dodge Caliber?
Dodge Caliber, yes.
Yeah, just
Which is exactly the type of people that are buying Linglongs.
I think it was regular car reviews that was like the Dodge Caliber is the kind of car that once it comes back, like it's $1,000 car that's gonna need $5,000 in repairs, and you will see the owner crying in the fucking mechanic's waiting room. That's the
Yeah.
kind of Linglong owner,
I also
Linglong
like
enjoyer.
we can probably end it on this, but like if you go to their website and you scroll down to the bottom, it's
Yeah.
like the HTML and CSS just like stops. It just stops right where you can start scrolling. So it's like they only made the part of the web page that you land on look nice, but if you actually scroll anywhere, it just stops.
Yeah. No,
It's like modern web page, you scroll like just twice, 1990s.
yeah, like it's literally broken styling at minimum at the bottom of their page. What a crapshoot. Well, anyway, perfect spot to end. Don't buy Linglongs. Don't cheap out. Don't do that. It's not worth your family's life. You will die. All jokes aside, buy quality items. Oh my god. I can't believe that's where we're giving out advice not to buy Linglongs now. That's where we're ending. All right. Thanks everybody. Follow us on Instagram.